This is an interview again for the Wild Women Symposium. My name is Suzanne Wagner, and I'm one of the founders of the Wild Women Symposium that will be in Park City, Utah, October 3rd through 5th, 2014, at the Prospector up in Park City, beautiful Park City. And today I have my dear friend Valerie Holt, who will be one of the facilitators at the event. And so Valerie, great to see you. Thank you for doing the interview.
Hi, Suzanne. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And so I wanted you to kind of tell everybody a little bit about who you are and, what you do and why you do it, and we would love to hear all about you.
Okay. Well, so I started an independent spiritual mentoring practice called the Llama Farm. Officially, really, gosh, it's been probably about 4 years ago now, formally with that name. But what happened for me is I've been on this practice for myself about seeking alternative consciousness conversations. However that comes up in life, it seems like sometimes those are hard conversations for people to have about making choices in spirituality that bring them very conscious and present in their life. And so that came for me through lots of crises in my life, lots of hard knocks, bumps, and pains that were really, truthfully excruciating. And my true hope, when that began to happen, I started that quest for myself. And really, ultimately, I've traveled probably in education and experiential to 4 different continents with, 20 different wisdom teachers. Lots more teachers, but really key integral teachers who've brought me or given me so much inspiration and insight about sharing that idea of just choosing consciously to live our path so that all of this stuff that goes on inside of us gets out in front of us and we make a choice about it instead of keeping it buried and maybe hiding from it a little bit. So that's kind of where my idea for what I'm doing for the Wild Women Symposium came up as well, is to get some of that out in front of us.
And that's so great, because what we wanted with the Wild Women Symposium was we wanted to bring in facilitators who were willing to help other women dive deep into the stories and the way we speak to ourselves and how we communicate with ourselves. And I believe it's so essential right now in this really difficult time where there's so much negativity in the news and so much negative story out there that we actually learn to kind of communicate with ourselves in a much better way. And so tell us about the class you're going to be teaching.
Okay, so this class is formally titled, at least I think it is, Rites of Passage, but it's about creating our own rites of passage through our metaphorical story. What happens to us is we get involved in these small dramas in our lives, these stories that are small for us, and what is possible for us as individuals and then as the collective consciousness is actually to move to an entirely different level of spirit and tell a new story that actually becomes transformational. So it's finding that new story and then creating a beautiful signifying ritual or rite of passage around it. It moves us from just the earthly plane into the mystic level, and it's amazing what things start to happen when we start to engage in that level. That is our God selves, our divine selves, doing major downloads and shifts for us as individuals. And it's powerful in a group dynamic because then we're doing it with each other.
Well, and I also think in a group dynamic, I remember being with a teacher, and I was very, very stuck. And I was so stuck that I was just completely miserable. And when I finally broke through, everyone in the room was actually having my breakthrough. And he said something really interesting. He said, I've learned something, and it's that the most powerful person in the world can use all their power to stay stuck if they want. And so you were a very powerful person, and your energy was so stuck, and you were holding the whole room down. And so when I broke through, my story was actually everyone's story. I was kind of holding the core story of the group. And that's why I love group dynamics. I mean, it's sort of my passion to be in rooms with people, because I learn from other people's stories, because the truth is we're all the same. And, you know, when someone else breaks through to a new story, it gives me a totally different reference point for probably another story that I've got going on in my head. And so I love the power of storytelling, and I'm so excited that, you know, you're doing this class, because you know, to me it's sort of a tricky thing, like how do you get people to communicate their story but then to get out of their story, because so many of us are so attached to our story.
It's funny because people are afraid to change, and they don't even get that. Like I say, oh, I want this to be different. I need this to end. But really to let go of those things that keep us in our box and keep us comfortable, actually people are a little bit fearful of that. Unless you ask or create a really safe opportunity to do some switching. So that is the group dynamic. It's funny because I'm an introvert, and so for years I resisted group dynamics. I do a lot better processing things on my own. But what I learned when I got into groups where the safety net was set, where it was so comfortable to be there, where it was like I remembered this place and this feeling, this was calling to a higher place of my own spirit, and that's kind of the switch that gets flipped, and the group like starts to hum and buzz, and everyone starts to lean in and get so excited about what might be possible to create that shift for themselves. And your point about how you did that, your energy was holding that space for the group. It's such a gift to be able to participate with people as they're in those transformations. It goes to work on each one of us. And so we're zooming through that energy for each person around the circle as those amazing transformations of light start to happen.
Well, and I find also that when you kind of get the hang of something like, you know, being able to rewrite your own story, then you start listening much more actively to other people's words and conversations and the stories that they're saying to you. And then you can actually start to kind of, I kind of say, throw a wrench into it, you know, like throw a kink into it so that they have to kind of stop and like look at what it is that they're saying, actually. You know, I think sometimes we speak from someone else's reference point, and we don't always speak from our own reference point. And why I wanted you in this class and teaching this class was that it was about them making their own story, right? You know, and coming up with what is their story. It's not about anybody else's story. It's about their personal desires and dreams and where they want to take themselves.
Yeah. It's so, you make a great point, Suzanne, because we can get sucked into the drama of the people around us, those family members or loved ones that we're in this big story together, and we can get sucked in and stuck there. And there's two parts of that. One is, oh, I can look at you and see all the things that you're doing in your story that are just wrong and bad, and I could tell you how to fix them. And so there's, first of all, just putting yourself in check on that. But then second of all, starting to become aware of what happens for myself and my story. So here's me with my ego, and I've got a story to tell and reasons why my ego is helping me survive with that story. So I don't want to threaten my ego. It's doing a really good job. But on the other hand, here's my soul, my divine and infinite being. It's the observer of that. And it just sees it and loves it and says, well, let's step out of the drama. And here's a whole other way to look at how this story can unfold. And I'm no longer going to be attached to this small story and the way that I need things to happen to survive in this way. Because no, I want to thrive. I want to shift and change completely. I don't want to be down here on this small playing field. I want to be divine and infinite. And whatever that means for each individual, you know, you put your own words into it. don't let me be the one that says divine and infinite. However that's interpreted for each person, play big, not play small.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so happy that you're going to be one of our facilitators, and I'm sure everyone is going to be super excited to go to your class. And the way the Wild Women Symposium is structured for all of you listeners out there is that you'll come in and you'll get to choose that each class scheduled time, you will be able to choose between a class on love, life, or light. And so each of the teachers is put into a category. So the light category is about spirituality and metaphysics and meditation and uplifting yourself and transforming parts of yourself. The life section is about how to take care of yourself and how to nurture yourself and how to, do the things that really give your body what it needs in order to balance out and to understand tools that will help you deal with your own physical self and your own emotions related to your physical self. And then the love category is related to sexuality and intimacy and relationship and passion, and that's sort of the juicy section. So in each time slot, you can choose between all these different teachers that will be teaching, and you kind of get to pick and choose, and it's like a giant smorgasbord, which I find is the way women like to be anyway, because women would prefer a banquet rather than just a one-course meal. And the Wild Women Symposium is going to be a banquet of the best facilitators that I could come up with at this time, to gift you who you really are trying to step into. And it's a highly transformational weekend. So you can go to www.wildwomensymposium.com. There is an Eventbrite link that you can go directly there to get tickets. There are discounts right now for an early bird special until September 1st, so you want to jump on it right now. And there are also specials if you have 3 women that want to come together. It's $120. If you want 5 women to come together, it's $112, which is an amazing deal because you get a full weekend of Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday to really just take care of yourself, dive into deep places with your friends, and we hope that you bring your girlfriends and your family friends and everybody that you want to come to the Wild Women Symposium and make it a girls' wild weekend event. So thank you so much for talking to us, Valerie, and telling us about your class. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me today, Suzanne. And I want to follow up just with this one gratitude for you. And I said this in passing the other day, but I really want to share it publicly with your viewers about the amazing gift that you're giving for Wild Women Symposium, which is this beautiful sharing of women in an environment of complete equanimity and embracing in a totally safe zone. It is a beautiful energy that you are sharing, putting down when we get into that catfight energy and understanding that nurturing space, that is truly the place of women's hearts. So I express a lot of gratitude to you for that, and I'm really excited to be a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Valerie. You have a great evening and have a great Labor Day weekend.
You too.
Okay, bye.